Hey folks, how's it going? In this video, I actually just came out with a puzzle book. It's math puzzles, cross math kind of stuff. And I actually had to use SQL Server to kind of solve a lot of problems with, the data, the back-end data for the puzzles. I'm not going to show you all that here. This video is just kind of like the first chunk of what I had to do, but I thought it would be pretty good to go over because what it does is it covers if exists, drop table, select into, insert into, Sysobjects, and Xtype, and all that kind of fun stuff. So there's like a lot of little pieces to this, but I'll go through it fairly quickly. But let me say this is like a real world example of something that you might have to do. So let me just start off by saying I'm going to use step sums. That's the name of the puzzle book. When I hit that, see it switched it from the master database up here. Now, let me also go into this database, and let's take a look at the tables. Okay, right now there are no tables. Now watch this. If I run this if exists, select star from A, it's going to crash because right now, if I go like this, it crashes because there's no table named A. Okay, why am I showing you all this? Because a lot of times you may be working somewhere where you have a script and a table has to be dropped and recreated. There's a lot of reasons why you may need to do that. But see, the thing is, if you do it the first time, this will give you an error. Now, what does if exists means? This means if it finds something, anything, if it returns anything, zero record, or excuse me, not zero records, but if you do a count, whether the count's 0 or 1,000,000, it returns true. If you do a query from a table and it returns 0 records, then it's false. But in this case, see, we're trying to drop a table that doesn't exist. This crashes because there's no table. However, if I do it this way, if exists, and then instead of looking for a table that doesn't exist, I'm just looking in the system table known as Sysobjects, and I'm saying, hey, is there an object that has the name A? And the Xtype is U for user table. That means it's a table that I created, not a system table. So if I do this, it won't do anything because there's no table, but this will not make it crash. So it'll just say commands completed successfully. So if you're writing a script and if you want to impress the bosses, if you're trying to drop a table if it already exists, don't do that. Do it like this. Take a few extra things there, and I'll put this down in the description, so that you can just copy it and play around with it and whatever. Now, let me show you something else that's interesting. I'm going to create the table now, and I'm going to say select 1, and I'm going to call the field A into a table named A. This is probably a bad programming, way to do this, but that's just how I'm doing it. So I did that, and it one row affected, so it wrote a row. Let's take a look now. So I have a table called A, a field. Now, why am I showing you all this? Because watch this. If I go back now, all right, and let's show the table. It's right there. Just created it, fresh off the print, or fresh off the press. If I run this code now it's going to work. It'll drop the table. Why? Because it exists. It won't crash on this. See, like if I go like this, see, it selects everything. So now I can drop this no problem. See? And if we go here, the table's not there anymore. But if I run the same code a second time, now it crashes. So you see, you'll probably have some coworker that thinks they're a genius and says, hey, look, I ran this code, it works fine, because they're always dropping a table that's there. But on the time that, like if you rerun the script a minute later or something, unless you're recreating the table. So let me show you how this information works all the time. I'm going to get rid of this right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my if exists with select, I'm looking for a table with this name in the Sysobjects, and then I'm going to drop it, and then I'm going to recreate it, and then I'm going to select it. But this time, instead of just doing select into, I'm also after that, after it makes the first record, then I'm going to say insert into and I'm going to add the number 2. And then a record with the number 3 and 4 and so forth. And so let me run that. And what we should do, we should see 6 records returned. So let's run the whole thing. And let me move this up a little bit. So there we go. And actually, I'm going to make this a little smaller. I'm going to do Control and then the thumb wheel. The top comes toward me as opposed to this way, and it makes it bigger, just so you can see the whole thing. And we don't need all that. Let me see if I can just make this a little bigger. There we go. And then we're going to do this. Now, because I'm using the correct way to do the if exists to drop the table, I can keep doing this with impunity, and it keeps running it. It keeps dropping the table and recreating it and repopulating it. And if I was to look at the an ID on that table from Sysobjects, it'll be a different record with a different ID each time. Anyway, sorry this took so long, but there you go. So you see if exists, drop table, select into, insert into, Sysobjects, and Xtype. And like I say, I'll throw all this code in the description. Just one last thing before you go. I'm going to have a much bigger playlist and/or video showing you a real-world example of how I had to basically make some data to use for the back end of a puzzle book that I made, and it's coming out on Amazon on August 20th in 2024. And if you guys love doing math puzzles and they're sort of like Sudoku but a little better, I think you guys will like them. And anyway, I'll announce it when it comes out just because I use SQL in the back end. I know the site is about SQL. It's not about making puzzles. But come on, what programmer doesn't like a good math puzzle? All right, guys, thanks for watching. And, I'm going to order a pizza later if anybody's interested. No, I'm not. All right, thanks. Bye.